Welcome into the New Orleans Saints post-game show presented by Verizon. I'm Caroline Gonzalez, joined by John DeShazier right here in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Your New Orleans Saints improved to 4-1 with a 31-24 win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers today in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. JD, it seemed like the Saints controlled the narrative from the very beginning of the game. How did they get it done today?
Well, there was no way in Hades the Saints were going to lose this game. Drew Brees helped lead the pregame huddle. Will Smith inducted into the Saints Hall of Ring of Honor at halftime. All that working for you. There was no way they were going to lose this game. And, oh, by the way, the offense played as well as it's played this season, actually. Teddy Bridgewater with 4 touchdown passes had a fantastic game. The Saints really ramped it up offensively. We thought they might. Tampa was a little bit weak in the pass defense. They challenged the Saints to throw it, and Teddy Bridgewater succeeded by any measure.
Absolutely. Teddy Bridgewater, tied a career-high 4 touchdown passes tonight. Him and Michael Thomas seemed to be automatic tonight, just finding their connections early and throughout the game. It was a chemistry that it seemed like we've all been waiting for to see out of those two.
Yeah, Michael Thomas, I don't know if Tampa decided to play him man-to-man or what, and I don't know why they did, because he was really a man amongst young men, boys, in that situation. He really took advantage of that secondary. He and Teddy Bridgewater obviously have a chemistry going, but what Teddy Bridgewater said he was going to do was, I'll get the ball into the hands of the playmakers, I'll let those guys make plays. Michael Thomas, as good a playmaker as this Saints offense has, and he and Teddy Bridgewater have something going.
We'll have some service. We'll get some stats to you once I get service here on my service, but we will have the press conferences of head coach Sean Payton and Teddy Bridgewater, and we'll get those press conferences to you as soon as the coach and player come to the podium. JD, another thing you have to mention, as good as this offense was, the defense was just as good. 6 sacks for the Saints defense tonight, their second 6-sack game of the season.
Yeah, 6 sacks, and the 24 points not really indicative of how well the defense played. I thought they gave up maybe a couple of legitimate touchdown drives, but they really held Tampa Bay in check. And Tampa Bay is a team that likes to throw it deep. They hold the ball a little bit. They're a little exotic on offense, but the Saints were able to shut them down. Coming after that 12-10 win against Dallas, where they held Dallas to less than 300 yards, probably held Tampa to another less than 300 yards. I thought they did the job, and again, as you mentioned, 6 sacks. If you can get 6 sacks, you're probably going to win the game.
We're going to go ahead and go to Coach Sean Payton there at the podium.
Obviously a good win for us, a division opponent. We felt like has been playing well. You know, when you watch them on tape this year, it's noticeably different in a lot of areas, and that's a credit to Bruce and that team. So we felt like we knew we were going to be in for a tough game, and you know, fortunately we did enough things to win. Any questions? Well, it wasn't not part of it. I mean, obviously those guys are catching a lot of balls. I thought we did a good job disrupting the passer. It was going to have to be with some 7-man and also with some 8-man fronts. You know, they're a patient running team, and we knew that, and so it was going to have to be a few different looks. And I thought Marshawn played well. We'll look at the tape. And conversely, offensively, we knew we were playing a real good run front, so we were going to, throw it a little bit more early on. We were efficient doing that and made enough big plays to get a lead. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, look, he got into a rhythm, and I felt like we did a good job protecting for him. We got the ball down the field more. And, the guys made some plays. A bunch of different guys made plays. So I was happy to see, some of the longer throws and the way he played, definitely. Yeah, well, in practice, we're spending, there's a ton of practice that goes into long before we even, get to a game, but I don't know that it's anything behind the scenes. I mean, I just think that there's a preparation element and he's extremely, he being Teddy, is, when you play quarterback in this league, the attention to detail is significant. And so I know he pays close attention to that. He'll stay after practice, work with certain guys. We work a lot of different combinations. Look, I think, you know, I felt all along, and I think our players the same way. I mean, you know, it's hard in this league to win if you don't have talent at that position. And you know, we did enough good things today around them. You know, guys were making plays outside. I thought, like I said, we blocked them well. It's a front that's difficult to run on. I think we made our attempts and managed to rush for over 100 yards in that battle. You know, so I was encouraged. I thought that was Ted Ginn, wasn't it, Teddy Ginn? It's part of it. Like the matchup in man, you know, we thought we could get him involved. You know, the touchdown he makes early on was good to see. Good throw and catch, and you know, we just got to continue to get him more opportunities, and that's on us. Well, we knew we were going to see some man coverage. They do a good job of mixing up the looks, and then it was just trying to work the individual matchups. They had an injury to corner that kind of moved some guys around, but it was good to see. Yeah, I thought, look, our third down numbers were good. I mean, if you looked at defensively what we did third down wise and then what we did third down wise, the rushing numbers were good. You know, for the most part, we eliminated the big plays. It's a good formula. Well, I mean, listen, he's been a good player for us since he's been here. I like his length. I like his competitive nature and how he prepares. I think he's got really good ball skills, and yeah, so it's not like the last 2 weeks. I mean, he draws a tough matchup each week. It's very important. I think it's very important. You know, because look, one of the first advantages for offensive football is the snap count, and to some degree that gets reduced or eliminated. And I think, yeah, I think it's real important. Well, look, they're both talented players. It was a situation call, and you know, it was good it worked out. There's no schedule. You know, he's a young player that we feel like is playing better and better, and I was pleased to see the production he had, and I thought we had really good pressure on the quarterback. One more question. Say it again. Yeah, look, when you face a player like that, you know you're in for a challenge, and especially a player we know in the division. So I'm sure there was a number of things, but you know, the coverage was good. I'm sure there are a handful of things we'll see on tape. All right, thank you.
You're watching the New Orleans Saints postgame show presented by Verizon with Caroline Gonzalez, John DeShazier. Again, your New Orleans Saints defeat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers today 31-24. You just heard from Sean Payton. We'll hear shortly from quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. JD, you said it. We're ready like Teddy, and Teddy Bridgewater came out ready to play tonight. 26 of 34 completions for 314 yards and 4 touchdowns. I mean, you can't ask for a better performance out of him.
Well, if you're watching and you're one of the ones who's been saying Teddy needs to throw it deep, okay, the opportunities presented itself, and
Right.
I think he came through with flying colors. Again, you have to look at the situations. Not every defense plays the same, so they don't give you those opportunities. When the shots are there, the Saints are willing to take them. Now Teddy Bridgewater is getting more familiar, more comfortable, and he's taking those shots, and he really was successful doing it today.
Speaking of comfortable, a name that we didn't really want to speak any voodoo on this week was Jared Cook. Jared Cook, 4 receptions, 41 yards, and finally his first touchdown of the season for the New Orleans Saints.
He's had a tough go of it. I mean, he's had, you know, a couple passes bounce off his hands. He's had some things happen that, you know, he really hadn't been as involved in the offense as he'd like to be, I'm sure. With Drew Brees going out, they probably scale back his role a little bit. So to get him involved in the passing offense, certainly gives the Saints another weapon, gives the defense something else to worry about, and boosts his confidence. All in all, a great all-around thing.
Again, we'll get you the press conference with Teddy Bridgewater as soon as he's at the podium. But for this defense, JD, we finally saw Sheldon Shimmy. He had a sack tonight. It seemed like late in that fourth quarter, every possession was a sack for the Saints, and that defense was just formidable tonight.
Well, when you're up 2 scores, you put the opposing offense in a vulnerable position where they've got to throw it to try to make their comeback. So you know they're going to be dropping back. You know Tampa likes to throw it deep. You know that takes some time for those plays to develop. So the Saints really put the bums rush on them at the end, and they were able to get to Jameis Winston. But the Saints now have won 3 straight games. They beat an undefeated Seattle team, an undefeated Dallas team, and a Tampa team that just laid 55 last week on the Los Angeles Rams. So I think they have to be pretty pleased with the direction they're going.
Absolutely. Well, something we talked about pregame was this special teams unit. Thomas Morstead has always been automatic. Will Lutz, who again was automatic tonight. Deontay Harris, who did struggle a little bit tonight for the Saints special teams.
He struggled a lot.
Yeah.
He struggled a lot. Thomas Morstead probably will tell you he's not that happy with his punting today. Some of them probably were a little bit shorter than he liked. But Deontay Harris, I know he's a rookie. I understand he's undrafted. But he's got to clean that part of the game up. He put one on the ground here today, really got it overturned because they said it was inconclusive. He's put one on the field before in Seattle. He's got to clean up that area. That's the only thing that he's really lacking is the clean carry out of his mission. He's got to field the punts cleaner. He's got to take better care of the football. Otherwise, he's going to end up on the bench somewhere.
Of course, and it was nice to see Marcus Davenport, too. It seems like we've continued to see development out of Marcus Davenport for the Saints defense. He just continues to improve each week, and we're finally seeing why the Saints decided to trade up for him last year.
Well, he actually got 3 hits on the quarterback last week. He couldn't get Dak Prescott on the ground. Today he got 2 sacks. He ran over the right tackle on one of them like the guy wasn't even there. We see the potential that he has. He went on one of those streaks last year before he got injured where I think he had 4.5 sacks in 4 games or something like that. So we know it's there. It's just got to be there consistently and over a longer period of time.
So after this win, of course, we know the Saints improve to 4-1 in the division. They take the NFC South. They take the lead in the NFC South, What does that mean going forward for the Saints? And when is it that they play a NFC South team again? I haven't
Well, in a couple of weeks, I think they play.
Coming out of the bye,
yeah,
right.
coming out of the bye. But, the good thing for the Saints is, you win your division. You're winning your division games. And that's the most important thing in the NFL, to win your division. It doesn't matter if you're 13-3 or if you're 8-8. If you win your division, you get a home playoff game. So that's the most important thing. But to be able to do it and continue to do it without Drew Brees is significant to me. Again, this team had never won without Drew Brees before this season, before these last 3 games. So the confidence has to be sky high right now.
Well, it was nice to see Drew Brees out there throwing a Nerf ball on his social media yesterday. Hopefully he'll be back soon. But, of all the things the Saints did well today for the Saints, what are some areas of improvement other than Deontay Harris and the special teams a little bit? What are the areas of improvement that you saw that the Saints need to improve on?
Well, there's always things that you want to get better at. I think they were a little bit leaky defensively. They probably gave up a couple of late scores that they don't want to get into. The situational football is always there. I think they gave up a 3rd and 16 or so in this game. And those are situations where defensively you've got to be able to get off the field. They'll probably want to run it a little bit better, although they ran it well against the number 1 run defense in the league. They'll probably want to be a little bit more efficient there in terms of average per carry. But, there wasn't a whole lot to argue with today. I think the offensive line played as clean as it has this season. I don't know if there was an offensive holding penalty that I can recall. I might be wrong, but I don't think that was the case.
I think there was one at the very beginning on Jared Cook, but
and on
much
Jared
better.
Cook, not on
better.
the offensive lineman,
Right.
and that's significant because they had been struggling in that area, and they hadn't been adapting to the way the games have been being called. And I think they did a very good job of that today.
And I almost didn't talk about it, JD, but Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore for the 2nd week in a row. Marshawn Lattimore was locked down on his defender. You saw Amari Cooper last week and then today with Mike Evans.
Well, he says when he's locked in, that's the player he is. And you can see when he's not, he kind of drifts a little bit, maybe mentally, just a little bit bored with not being thrown at. But when he's got the challenge out there of a guy like Amari Cooper or a guy like Mike Evans, he's learning to be more professional. He said himself last week, he's learning to be more professional about it, to play every down, to be engaged every down. And when he's that kind of player. He's been phenomenal the last couple of weeks, and that's what the Saints drafted him for. That's why he was NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, and that's the kind of player he can be.
Of course. Now, we will get you Teddy Bridgewater as soon as he is ready at the podium. Let's go over some stats throughout the game. You had Alvin Kamara having another terrific game today for the Saints. 16 carries for 62 yards. Teddy Bridgewater, of course, was 26 of 34 for 314 yards and 4 touchdowns. And how have we not talked about Teddy Bridgewater and Taysom Hill? We saw when Teddy Bridgewater first took over for the Saints at quarterback that, Sean Payton said, you don't know that Teddy Bridgewater is going to be the automatic starting quarterback, and tonight we finally saw that quarterback tandem out of them.
Yeah, Taysom Hill, the role he plays for this offense, you figured at some point he was going to have to throw a pass.
Yeah.
He couldn't just go out there and do a run-pass option all the time. And again, that gives opposing defenses just one more thing that they have the game plan for and to worry about. Beautiful pass that he threw to Michael Thomas today. A good thing for him because you need to have him multifaceted, multidimensional, and that needs to be the case even when Drew Brees comes back. When he goes in to play quarterback in those situations, he needs to be a threat throwing the ball also. So it was good to see him be able to do that. Saints had 3 guys complete passes in this game. Alvin Kamara threw a late one, a 13-yarder to Josh Hill. So, again, they're just pulling things out, giving opponents more things to worry about, more things to have to game plan for, making themselves more dangerous.
And this is the last time the Saints will be in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome for the next 2 games and then the bye week. So they'll face the Jacksonville Jaguars next week and then head to Chicago to take on the Bears before the bye week. What are some things looking forward against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I don't know if that game has ended yet, but I think the Jaguars were ahead by 3 when we last saw. But looking forward to the Jaguars next week, what are some areas that the Saints need to work on this week?
Well, the offensive line is going to have to be as good or better next week as they were today because Calais Campbell leads the defensive line over there. He's a monster. He's a big guy. I think he's about 6'7", 6'9", but more than that, he's a fantastic player. And so they have to be able to deal with him on the interior. And we know Jacksonville's got a running game with Leonard Fournette, the New Orleanian. Mm-hmm. He's been running it extremely well lately. But then they got the Gardner Minshew, the Minshew magic that's going right now. And so they've got a lot of confidence offensively, whereas they didn't necessarily have that confidence. We know they didn't have it last year. They didn't have a chance to really develop it all with Nick Foles before Nick Foles got injured this year. Now Gardner Minshew's out there playing like an all-pro, and so they've got to be sky high confidence-wise offensively. And the Saints can't look at him like a rookie quarterback. They got to look at him like a formidable opponent because he's lighting people up. And that secondary, as well as it's played the last couple of games, is going to have to play at least as well next week on the road in Jacksonville.
Just a reminder, your Saints defeated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers tonight 31-24 to improve to 4-1. Let's go ahead and watch some highlights from today's game.
Open for the end zone. Michael Thomas. It's a Saints touchdown. Blitz. Winston. Ball is out. There's a scramble at the... And the catch is made into the end zone. Jared Cook for a Saints score. One flag under the bench, which of course he didn't have any remaining, as Bridgewater steps up, fires for the end zone. Touchdown Saints. Ted Ginn. Kamara's going to throw and open with a first down catch is Josh Hill. Kamara. Michael Thomas, the catch. Thomas, the touchdown for the Saints. Sacked. Winston as the wall collapsed around him.
We're going to go ahead and go over some scores from the league while we're waiting on quarterback Teddy Bridgewater to come to the podium. It looks like the Panthers versus Jaguars game has gone final. It looks like the Panthers defeated the Jaguars 34-27 today. Christian McCaffrey, I mean, those highlights of him flipping in the end zone was absolutely insane. The Broncos are in the first quarter of their game. They lead 14-0 over the Chargers. The Packers game has just started, and the Seattle Seahawks defeated, that was on Thursday. The Texans defeated the Falcons 53-32 today. Of course, it's always a good day when you see the Falcons go down. And then the Cardinals defeated the Bengals 26-23, and the Bears go down 21-24 to the Oakland Raiders, and the Eagles defeat the Jets 31-6. again, we will go to the podium as soon as quarterback Teddy Bridgewater is ready. But JD, why don't you give us a little more analysis on the Jacksonville Jaguars going into next week?
Well, again, hey, I've given you everything I can on them. I just know that Minshew's playing extremely well. They'll be, obviously, if they put up 27 today, they're still doing it well offensively. Weren't able to pull that one out, though. So, hopefully the Saints will find some things in there that they can take advantage of, that they'll see as weaknesses, and they'll be able to game plan around, which usually they do. Again, it's a rookie quarterback, so you hope that you can scheme him and maybe confuse him and get him in a situation where, if you can get a rush on him, and the Saints have been rushing the passer well, if you can get a rush on him, you can maybe get him a little bit skittish, get him dancing around a little bit, get him off his marks, and maybe make him inaccurate, or at least less accurate than he's been the last several games. But the guy's on the roll. He's playing extremely well. And what you don't want to do is to let him get into an early rhythm, because then it just becomes a feeding frenzy, especially on the road. It's hard enough to win at home in the NFL. You get on the road and you let the opponent get on the roll, it's almost impossible to reel him back in. So hopefully the Saints will have something for him, because he's shown to be extremely poised. He reads defenses well. He's got some escapability. He's a guy who they seem to like. They seem to follow. He seems to, I don't know what the it is, but he seems to have it right now for Jacksonville. And if you got that going at quarterback, you can win a lot of games.
This Thursday, we saw the Seahawks defeat the Rams 30-29. What kind of implications does that have for the Saints down the road, now that we've seen the Saints defeat the Seahawks and fall to the Rams?
Well, the only team the Saints have lost to is the Rams. So now they've got they don't have the head-to-head because they lost to them, but they're a game clear of them in the loss column because of that loss. The Rams are now 3-2. So the Saints need to maintain at least a game lead on the Rams to have home field advantage over them in the playoffs, and they got to at least stay lockstep with Seattle and Dallas, because they beat both of them and they would win the head-to-head. So those are things to watch the rest of the season. Now, of course, it's early and we're only 5 games in, but those are things that we need to take notice of, because they shape the season. And really, you start looking at the standings. You're not just looking at the NFC South. Yeah, you got to win the NFC South.
Right.
But when you're talking about playoff seeding, you've got to take care and watch the teams that you've played and how you fared against the top teams. And so far, the Saints are in an advantageous position. Got to keep winning, of course. If they keep winning, everything will sort itself out. But you don't want to put yourself in a position to where you need to depend on help, because then things get really dicey. You need this team to beat that team so you can hold on to the number 1 seed. You don't want to be in that position. Right now, they are in control of their destiny, and that's all you can ask for.
And the Atlanta Falcons, as we were mentioning earlier, fall to the Houston Texans 53-32. I feel like this is a team, and again, we'll get you over to Teddy Bridgewater as soon as he gets to the podium. I feel like the Falcons is a team that every year you seem like there's going to be some turnover and some improvement. But again, the Falcons are 1-4 on the season and just at the bottom of the NFC South rankings right now.
It's perplexing. You look at the talent they've assembled offensively, and they're scoring, and the talent they've assembled defensively, and they can't stop anybody. And the cohesion just doesn't seem to be there. Now, that doesn't mean they can't turn it, and we know that they're going to play certain teams well. In fact, in that game, they made a furious rally, and they were only down 32-40, 40-32. But there's a disconnect there somewhere or another, and we just hope the connection isn't made by the time they get around to playing the Saints. But there's something going on there where they just can't quite get it together. It works out well in the Saints' favor again. The Saints are a game clear of everybody in the loss column, at least in the division. So all they have to do is continue to handle their business. Carolina's at 2-2, now 3-2. So again, the Saints are 1 game clear of everybody in the loss column, and that's all you can do in the division. That's the only thing that matters in the division.
Now, JD, I was curious, something I was thinking about earlier, of course, Teddy Bridgewater is doing well at the quarterback position. We're happy to see him doing so well. But when Drew Brees does come back, and, it's I don't want to say it's a matter of time, but we saw him throwing a football, which is far further than what we expected to see him at this point. But do you think Sean Payton is maybe tinkering around with the idea of throwing in some Teddy Bridgewater some games?
No. No. I mean,
not Taysom Hill. All right, just shut my
you're bringing back a Hall of Famer.
Right.
So Drew Brees is going to come back. It'll be his position. What the Saints know now.
But kind of like he did with Taysom before, throw Teddy.
Because Taysom is a change of pace guy.
Okay.
And Teddy isn't that change of pace guy. Now, if Teddy was a runner, the way Taysom Hill is, then you do that. But he's a change of, Taysom Hill's a change of pace guy, whereas Teddy, you probably can structure a defense, an offense that's actually closer to what you want to do with Drew Brees. What the Saints do know, though, is that in Teddy Bridgewater, they have the guy that they thought they had. So if something happens to Drew Brees, even later on in the season, God forbid, but if something were to happen, middle of the game, if he strained something and couldn't go out for a couple of series, they've got a guy who now they understand and know for sure this guy can do it. Teddy Bridgewater was a 2-year starter his first 2 years in the NFL. He was a Pro Bowl quarterback. He shredded his knee, and people kind of forgot about him, and they forgot that he was a guy who's able to produce. I think it was Alvin Kamara who said, look, Teddy's got rank in this league. He's a guy who's played in this league. So now the Saints know, his teammates even more so, if the ball's got to go in his hands, this guy can produce. And that's the best thing that's happened out of this. You don't like to see any injuries. You certainly don't like to see Drew Brees go down. But they know that they can win games with Teddy Bridgewater. They might not all look beautiful, but they can win games with Teddy Bridgewater.
And after every scoring possession, it seemed like everyone in the Superdome tonight was chanting, Teddy, Teddy. You just heard it from one of the fans tonight. Now I'm hearing that we will be having Michael Thomas possibly coming to the podium as well as Teddy Bridgewater after him. Again, we will get you over to the podium as soon as one or either of those players come to the podium. But JD, let's continue to go over some of the stats tonight. Demario Davis, 7 tackles. He wasn't one of the players with a sack tonight, but still just an absolute dominant player for this Saints defense today.
Yeah, he's all over the place. He made some tackles for loss. He was in pass coverage. He'll tell you he probably should have had a pick on that pass breakup. But he's a guy who, when the Saints signed him as an unrestricted free agent, they thought these were the things that they saw on film that he was capable of doing. And to see him put it together on the field, he's been a defensive leader since he stepped in that locker room. He's that kind of a guy and that kind of a player. You can see him doing things that we hadn't seen Saints linebackers be able to do for a good while. A guy who can play every down, a guy who's durable. You can put him in pass coverage. You can have him rush the quarterback. He's multi-dimensional, and he can do it all well. So the Saints really have a guy in Demario Davis, and you love to see him get out there and just play ball.
Man, it's like watching paint dry right now, waiting for these players to come to the podium. But
that's why they pay us the big bucks. That's why we're here.
Right. Marshawn Lattimore, we spoke about it a little bit earlier in the week, but I want to touch on it again. In this preseason, you and I both heard him say, I want to be the best I have played. He played well in his rookie season, and he admitted himself that he fell off a little bit last season, but now it seems like he's kind of finding his momentum a little bit and getting back to that player that he spoke about in the preseason.
Yeah, I think really, a long story short, the way he's saying it is, if you boil it down, he's getting mature. He's growing up. Last year, he probably entered the season. He was feeling good about that rookie year, and he thought he just wouldn't have to play hard every down. And he's learning in the NFL, every live down, you got to be locked in because you don't know if the quarterback's going to scramble around and your guy is going to be the guy that he finds. Now he's understanding. He's getting that maturity level where he's locking in. Mike Evans has had some huge games against the Saints, some huge games at Marshawn Lattimore's expense. Mike Evans didn't have a catch today, had 3 targets. Marshawn Lattimore held up extremely well this week and last week against Amari Cooper. But again, he's got the talent. He's always had the talent. But now I think he's growing into it mentally, and he's putting the mental with the physical. I can't take downs off. Even if it's a run play, I've got to be on my toes every down. And I think we're seeing that with him. He's got tremendous year if he didn't. He had 5 picks that year. He's a guy who keeps his nose around the ball. But again, I think he got a little bit throwing at me so I can relax a little bit. This is the NFL. Can't do that. And he's learned that. And he's got a coach back about that kind of thing. So I think he's learning. I just think he's growing.
Today for the Saints, another player stepping up for the Saints we touched on a little bit earlier, but Marcus Davenport, 2 today, and just a player that continues to develop for the Saints defense, and he's under great leadership.
That athleticism and that ability of his, last year, everybody said, you know what, he's stronger over right tackle here today, bull rush him. He's stronger than he looks, and we've seen that out of him. So now we're getting a chance to see it in game situations, especially if the Saints can get ahead. And if you're playing a team like Tampa, again, they like to throw it deep. They're going to hold it a little bit longer because the routes need to develop, and that gives you maybe another step or two extra to be able to get to the quarterback. And when you're talking about NFL players and guys as athletic and talented as Marcus Davenport, that extra step and a half could be the world. He really come up with 6 sacks. There might have been another 8 that they came up dry on where they got a hand on Winston, really showed up and showed up well.
A player we saw a lot of this today and that we've seen a lot of in the past is Alvin Kamara, Bridgewater, who's at the podium.
Division. Talk about our week of preparation leading up to today. It was a great week. Coach talked about playing with energy, playing this game off emotion, and having tempo. I think we did a good job of doing that today, and we were able to come away with the victory. Going to live in this moment, continue to try to get better. It should have been 5 touchdowns. But it was a great overall team effort. I felt it was throw the ball to Mike Thomas, Jared Cook, Ted Ginn, Austin Carr, Hill. Just find a way to get those guys the ball, and they'll make plays for us. And today was one of those days. Everything was clicking. We knew coming into this game and get down the red zone and do some good things. And like I said, the stats, I play this game, it's a team sport. About today was running off the field, running in this tunnel, seeing the smiles on the fans' face. That's what I wake up, that's the number one thing on my mind when I wake up on game day. How can I do it? What can I, it's not about the numbers for me. Say that again? Oh, that's pretty cool, but no, she's still not. With Ed earlier this week about, reading what he sees on social media. But like I said, I play this game the way that I play it, and each defense is built different, designed different to take away different things. But we knew coming into this game that we were going to have an opportunity to be more aggressive. And Coach Payton, Pete, Joe, all those guys, when we get the game plan, we see, okay, this play is up. Hey, we want to hit the shot right here. You go into the game with that aggressive. It's very comforting when you can just look out. And Mike and I, we were just talking in the locker room, and I just told him, man, when the games come around, I can just see it in your eyes. You don't have to say a word to me. I know, it's that nonverbal communication that I can thrive off and that he thrives off. So when you're in the huddle, you're calling the play, and you're looking the guys in their eyes, and Mike's eyes just lights up. You know that he's locked in, and it's confident as a quarterback. Yeah, Mike is he's the ultimate competitor. He wants to be great, and he wants to continue to be respected. And he plays this game with a chip on his shoulder, and we all understand his background and things like that. But over the past couple of weeks, he's just been a guy who's shown up for us as he's done, in his past couple of years, his first couple of years here. So for me, it's just one of those deals where you just continue to trust the guys and continue to just believe in the system and believe in the guys, and it's been working for us these past couple of weeks. No, it's the same look. He's locked in. He wants the ball every play, but it's one of those deals where, man, you have a play call designed for Mike, and man, it's like, hey, Mike is going to catch it, or he's going to make sure no one catches it. So as a quarterback, you approach the line of scrimmage with that mindset, like, man, I'm just going to give my guy a shot. And you throw it up, he makes the plays for us, and we're all smiling.
Were you particularly testing his on that 3rd and 10 pass
Yeah, man, his catch radius is off the charts. But he made a great play on 3rd down for us, a diving catch, and that's what we expect of him. He's, great wide receiver. He's one of the best wide receivers in this league, and we're glad he's on our team. Yeah, it's just a great feeling to win football games. The locker room is special. It's a group of guys who show up to work every day, and they demand greatness out of everyone. from the training room staff to the equipment staff with Baum and those guys, the standard is held high. And just being able to be a part of something where it's such a high standard makes you just continue to be motivated and want more and more. And to be sitting here where we are right now, it speaks highly of this coaching staff, everyone who's played a role in these last couple of weeks. And I actually bought a beach cruiser, so I ride my beach cruiser home and to the game. So once I'm done here, I'm gonna ride home today. It's gonna be a nice little chill ride. Probably listen to some music, but yeah. Yeah. Man, it was one of those plays that we knew, we were going to call it in a short yardage situation. And this week in practice, he hit it, and we were excited about it. So, I'm pretty sure he was pissed. He wanted the touchdown. But to be able to convert right there, that was a big play for us, continue to give us momentum moving forward. Man, I was very excited. I probably apologized to him about 7 times, though. Not for the missed touchdown, for, the out route that he got hit on. But, it was great just to see him, flying around out there. He's one of those guys who is very explosive, and we like our matchups when we get him out wide and try to exploit those matchups. And Coach did a great job of, coming up with the game plan to get him isolated with safeties, and we try to take advantage of it.
Game plan, how good did it feel when you got into that rhythm, and did it feel more comfortable today than it has been?
Actually, I've been comfortable these past couple weeks. Each game plan is different, but we knew coming into this game that we wanted that aggressive mindset, and like I said, we knew that we were going to have more opportunities to do different things. And it wasn't perfect, but we came away with the victory, and we're going to continue to work and try to get better moving forward. No, I think I pretty much was dialed in on him. We have his college quarterback, JT Barrett. He's one of those guys who's been reminding me, like, man, Mike is this guy, like, who can just completely turn it on. And not saying that he turns it off, but he's one of those guys that when he's turning it on, he's locked in. And just to see that fire in his eyes and to see that passion that he plays the game with is very inspiring and motivating to me. Very glad. But defense, man, they've been showing up these past couple of weeks for us, and just to watch the guys up front get to the quarterback, it was great to see. I'm glad I was on the Saints and not the Tampa Bay Bucks. Yeah, like I said, there is a standard that was set around here, and I've had the opportunity to just jump right in. And throughout the week, when Drew was here, and we're game planning and we're practicing, those guys will stay after practice. Whatever routes Drew would want to throw, they stay behind and make sure that we try to work on those little things. And me, being in my position, I've had the opportunity to do the same thing. So. We practice on a Wednesday or Thursday. We'll stay behind and hit some of the routes that, we probably didn't get in practice that day. And it's just all about trying to maximize opportunity. And we've been doing a great job of doing that. Yes. Yeah. It was cool, but at the end of the day, I can only be Teddy Bridgewater, and Drew Brees can only be Drew Brees, and he's done some remarkable things around here, and I always tell people he built this place, but I don't want to take away from the guys who contributed that as well, but I just look at it as I try to be the best version of Teddy that I can be, but I also use the resources around me. So to have a guy like Drew in my corner backing me up is very beneficial to me. And just to be able to come into a situation like this where, you know, the expectation level is very high, you know, I just wake up and tell myself, man, just be Teddy, you know, and it's been working for me this far.
Mike Thomas, question. A lot to unpack from that press conference, JD, but one of the things that stood out was that he said the Saints demand a greatness out of everyone. It's such a high standard from the people, the equipment staff, the trainers, and everyone. And we've certainly seen that out of the Saints from the moment that Drew Brees went down, beginning of the season to even now. It's just such a high level of standard for the Saints.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that's won back-to-back division titles. They've had
excuse me, JD, I'm going to interrupt you. We have Mike Thomas now at the podium.
About adding value to my team.
Can't hear Mike.
When my number's called, making a play.
I got it.
Yes, sir. You take advantage of that. It's our job. We focus on it throughout the week of preparation. We know this team's counting on us. We know the defense is counting on us. We know this organization is counting on us to make these plays and to move the chain. So we lock in and week out, no matter who's behind center. We execute at a high level, and we work on our mistakes and try to improve them as fast as possible. We're trending in the right direction. That's where we want to head. That's our goal. That's the vision we have for this offense and this team. So it was good to hit it week 5. You know, just to put that stuff on film, and just now it's time to keep improving and keep enhancing it. I feel like that's something you're going to get out of him week in and week out. Every week he's going to take that next step. He's going to get better. He's going to find a way to improve. He's a tremendous pro. He's a great leader, very humble guy, even keel. But when it comes to competing, you know that guy loves to win. So when you have a quarterback that loves to win, he's going to find ways to win. 100% for him and Drew. You know, just we know when Drew's out there how much he values competing and winning games, and we just don't want to let each other down. We play for one another. I want him to be comfortable to sit back there and be able to throw the ball to me without, you know, taking any hits or making any wrong reads. I just want to be a safety blanket, and then when other guys make plays, I'm really excited for them too. The ultimate name of the game is moving these chains and scoring points. Yes. Oh yeah. Because I had like two plays before, I had that little when I motioned out and I had the hitch, and then I kind of dropped it. It was a low ball. I should have caught that one. So I was kind of disappointed in myself on that. But just being a mature player, being on my 4th year, I knew it was next play mentality. It's three downs, and 3rd down is crucial down. And I know how important that was at that time in the game. So wherever he threw it, I was going to lay out for it, and I was excited to make that play for the offense.
Mike, when Drew got hurt, some people were saying, man, before one like that.
Yes, sir. What's being said out there. Drews comes to work with us every day. He's in there. He's training. He's not able to throw right now. He's not able to be a quarterback, but we can't really in the locker room what we have to do to win games, because when you turn on the film and when you look at the records, we're the ones that's winning games. So it would be foolish of ourselves to go out there and worry about what everyone else is saying as compared to we're focused on what's going on in this locker room, what our coaches are telling us. Oh, yeah. It was time. Like you said, we're getting later in the season. I have to be that guy I say I am. I have to make people miss. I have to catch the ball. I have to score points. That's what they have me here for. And ultimately, even like a guy like Alvin Kamara, after watching him the last 4 weeks, it's contagious. Really, you don't want to go down. You want to actually abuse those guys, and you want to. Oh, I love it. Tell them to keep it up. I would tell them keep it up. Keep going. Just keep going. They're playing tremendous, but we know that sky's the limit, as great as they could be. And they're playing with a lot of energy, a lot of passion. I love what they're doing. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Michael Thomas there at the podium. He finished tonight with 11 receptions, 182 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Again, the New Orleans in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome to advance to 4-1 and lead the NFC South. I'm Caroline Gonzalez, and by Verizon.